One of the most anticipated debates in the 2022 election cycle was last night. It was quack television Dr. Mehmet Oz against Democratic Pennsylvania Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman. They are vying to be the next senator from Pennsylvania. Now, I am not going to sugarcoat this for anybody, and I didn't during yesterday's much watched live stream. John Fetterman suffered a stroke some months ago. He is recovering and has been cleared by his doctors to say you can serve as senator. He is not struggling cognitively in the sense of memory, logic, critical thinking, but Fetterman is struggling significantly when it comes to speaking and translating thought into speech. It's really sad to see. And what is horrifying is that the completely unqualified, delusional, and incompetent Mehmet Oz may become a senator because John Fetterman had a stroke and didn't perform particularly well last night. It was difficult to watch. I'm putting politics aside here for a second. I feel terribly for John Fetterman. Public figure in the middle of a campaign has a stroke, running for an important office, and now visibly struggles to speak, needed closed captioning during yesterday's debate in order to better understand the subject matter, having trouble with auditory processing. I hope for the absolute best for Fetterman's recovery. And it was a very difficult debate to watch last night. By the way, Fetterman was not a particularly good debater. I mean, Fetterman was the best candidate in the Democratic primary, but even at the Democratic primary debates, he wasn't the best debater. Let's look at a few clips from last night. The most disturbing clip was when Mehmet Oz said that local political leaders should be the ones making decisions along with patients and doctors about abortion. No, they shouldn't. It should be doctors and patients. But here is Oz with a very extreme statement.
There should not be involvement from the federal government in how states decide their abortion decisions. As a physician, I've been in the room when there's some difficult conversations happening. I don't want the federal government involved with that at all. I want women, doctors, local political leaders, letting the democracy that's always allowed our nation to thrive to put the best ideas forward. So
why do we need politicians in the room? Why is it better if they're local? This idea of let the states decide when there really aren't differences. Like, let me give you an example. When it comes to gun safety, as an example, Bernie Sanders is correct that gun ownership in Vermont is a very different thing socioculturally than it is in, I don't know, North Carolina. And so, regardless of your views, I can understand why one would say, well, because gun ownership in Vermont is a different thing than in North Carolina, maybe there should be a different conversation happening in each state. It doesn't mean we don't have gun safety regulations or that I think we shouldn't have them, but it's at least plausible. When it comes to abortion, it's fundamentally about this is a medical procedure, and this is a procedure in which you shouldn't have politicians in the middle. Why is it better to have a local, a governor or a mayor telling women what they can't do rather than a senator in D.C.? Either way, it's bad. And this is a completely outrageous and extreme position. Here is just a clip just to really sum up the difference in the positions between Mehmet Oz and John Fetterman on this issue.
I want women, doctors, local political leaders, letting the democracy that's always allowed our nation to thrive to put the best ideas forward so states can decide for themselves. Contrast that with my opponent, John Fetterman.
But if you believe that the choice for abortion belongs between you and your doctor, that's what I fight for.
It's that simple. It's that simple. And Oz's position, of course, has been cobbled together in trying to basically focus group the best possible thing to say. Exceptions, but not this, and no federal involvement, but let local, blah, blah, blah. It's a mess, and it's outrageous, and it's extreme. The Fetterman position is the correct position. Now, John Fetterman did comment on his stroke, and he had the following to say about it.
Pennsylvania. Here's a man that spent more than $20 million of his own money to try to buy that seat. I'm also having to talk about something called the Oz rule, that if he's on TV, he's lying. He did that during his career on his TV show. He's done that during his campaign about lying about our record here. And he's also lying probably during this debate. And let's also talk about the elephant in the room. I had a stroke. He's never let me forget that. And I might miss some words during this debate, mush two words together, but it knocked me down, but I'm going to keep coming back up. And this campaign is all about, to me, is about fighting for everyone in Pennsylvania that ever got knocked down, that needs to get back up, and fighting for all forgotten communities all across Pennsylvania that also got knocked down, that needs to keep getting Pennsylvania.
Yeah. So as you can see, it takes a lot of courage to do what Fetterman did last night. He's in the middle of a recovery from a stroke, and he brought it up, and it was really something to see, and also quite difficult to watch. The issue of the quack cures promoted by Mehmet Oz on his program came up yesterday, and listen very carefully to the exact language that Oz uses, and you will very quickly see why he's choosing such narrow language.
Mr. Oz, you have built a lucrative career around medicine, but you've been criticized even by some fellow physicians for promoting, quote, unproven, ill-advised, and at times potentially dangerous treatments. What is your response to that? You have 60 seconds. Did you or your company make a profit from promoting those products?
I never sold weight loss products as described in those commercials. It's a television show. Like, this is a television show, so people can run commercials on the shows, and that's a perfectly appropriate and very transparent process.
Mm-hmm. Consider the language there, okay? I never sold weight loss products as described in John Fetterman's commercials. Okay, that is extraordinarily narrow language. He provided a platform for those products. It made the show profitable. He was promoting green coffee extract as a magical weight loss cure. That is not evidence-based. He was promoting raspberry ketones as the, quote, #1 miracle in a bottle to burn your fat. That is not evidence-based. He promoted guests who say homeopathy works uncritically. And I know some people in my audience get mad about this. It doesn't work, guys. I'm sorry. I know people email me every time. There are no active ingredients in homeopathy. There are no measurable active ingredients. It does not work. It has been widely studied. Oh, but David, Big Pharma won't allow studies. Guys, homeopathy has been widely studied. It doesn't work, and Oz promoted it. So extraordinarily narrow language there. Oz also promoting medication supposedly for colds. The way to get rid of a cold is to wait 5 to 7 days, okay? No matter what you take during those 5 to 7 days, right? Coffee enema, which is dangerous, by the way. Fried plantains, baths with coconut oil bath. 5 to 7 days later, the cold will be gone. And to attribute it to all of these different supposed cold cures doesn't actually make any sense. So bottom line, the question with this race is what happens with the polling? What happens with the polling at this point in time? Because going into yesterday's debate, the polling is what it is right now. Fetterman plus 1.3. Fetterman plus 1.3. And if you take a look, you will see that Fetterman had a nearly 9-point lead in early August, and that lead was only 6 at the beginning of September, and that lead was only 4 towards the end of September, and that lead is now 1.3. How much of an impact can a single debate have on a race like this, particularly when one candidate is visibly struggling with his speech as a result of the stroke that he had? I don't have the answer, but we'll find out in the next 7 to 10 days. And listen, the election's only 2 weeks away, and then we'll know a lot more. The David Pakman Show's longest-running sponsor is Blinkist, the app that takes thousands of nonfiction books, boils each of them down into an explainer you can read or listen to in 15 minutes. Blinkist also condenses episodes of popular podcasts into 15-minute explainers. I've been using Blinkist for years to supplement the books I read. I love reading. I read all the time. but there's even more books I don't have time to read. And you can often find those nonfiction books on Blinkist and consume the entire thing in 15 minutes. My favorite new feature on the app is Blinkist Connect, which lets you share your Blinkist premium account with someone else. You basically get 2 accounts for the price of one, and then you can also share Blinkist books and podcasts between users. I have a joint Blinkist premium account with my girlfriend. Blinkist Connect lets us sync together what books and podcasts we're listening to on Blinkist, sparks many interesting discussions. We just listened to Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power, the new version. Robert Greene, super interesting writer. Find his books fascinating. You can try Blinkist free for 7 days and get 25% off a premium subscription at Blinkist.com/David Pakman. The link is down below.